Aloha Live, Aloha Friday Live, everybody. Thank you for being with me tonight. I am here with Makeda. You know, she's not from Florida. She's up north right now, so she I know she's blowing her heat up. And you can if you can tell if you can tell what kind of conversation this is gonna be. Uh, thank you so much for being with me. Aloha to you, aloha to everybody. Welcome to the Aloha Friday Live show where we talk about all things leadership. Tonight, we're going to be talking about leadership and getting it wrong. I think I need a couple of hours, but we're going to try to pack it into one, and that's okay. Makeda, thank you for being with me. Please tell us a little bit about you, and we'll get going in the conversation.
Guys, Enrique had me cracking up before we came on live, like just literal tears. So I hope I don't have like mascara all over the place from the tears. But no, my name is Makeda, and I'm a leadership and team building coach, but I work specifically with first-time team managers. So anyone that's never been in a leadership role before. Mm-hmm.
Outstanding. Look, and there's a lot of them coming up out of high school, college.
College.
They're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be after this. Just stand by because your inbox is gonna blow up. I'm just
Yours too.
prophetically.
Both.
Hey, I'm just prophetically saying that. That's fine. But hey, we talked about this a while back. We engage in conversation. Thank you, LinkedIn, for opening this world to me, opening this world to all of
Yeah.
us, right?
Yeah. To
So
be
that
able
we
to
can
connect.
connect and talk. But we were talking specifically in the development side of leadership, the many things and many reasons why people either shy away from leadership or they subserviate, leadership, or they just loathe leadership. Right? They don't even want it. They don't want to be no part of it, because they have seen examples. And if it was just in one company and you went to another and you said, "Oh, okay, that was a one-off," that's truly not how leadership is. You go from one to the other and you see it just so blatantly uh, repeated
Mhm.
that people just become, uh, they fall out of love with leadership. I've seen people tell me blank out, I don't want nothing to do with
Do it.
no
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I leave me right here where I'm at. And they make the most impact right where they at. And so, we were talking about how do we come up to with a title about leadership and around this particular topic. And I just resolved to say getting it wrong. Right? There's a lot of people getting it wrong, more people getting it wrong than they are getting it right. And so we're going to talk about that. I know it's kind of like a hot thing. And so, folks, hold on to your seats because it's going to be a bumpy ride tonight.
Well, we still got you though. We still
All
got
right.
you.
All right. Yeah, we got you, though. Yeah. So, what has been your experience? You dealing with new leaders, so they really don't have anything, in their data bank to say, oh yeah, this or that, the other. But you don't have to go far. You don't have to be in your first job to see poor leadership.
Oh no.
You just walk around and you see it all day long.
Mhm.
So, what have you heard from the folks that come to you, that the people that you deal with, that are, just things that people are getting it wrong?
Yeah, the group that I work with within my program, like they're all first-time leaders, and so some of them have been working as managers for like a year or maybe two, and the consistent thing that they are always frustrated with is actually upper management. So the people that are their leaders and just the ineffectiveness and the poor leadership that comes from above that has made their lives very, very difficult. And so I like every week I get on these group coaching calls with this fabulous set of new leaders who actually care. Like they care about making an impact. That's why they invested in themselves. But unfortunately, they're placed in companies where leadership is just not, it's not rewarded, it's not cared about, it's just like the thing that you put on the last the last on the list. which is crazy because if you put leadership first, then everything else obviously follows. But that seems to be their biggest like gripe is just not having the support from their leadership.
And I could see that play out. Byron, thank you for joining me. He mentioned earlier this week that he'll be with us. He's up north too. Not
Oh,
as north as you are, but he's up there. But he used to be with me on. We were together in the Navy on a ship together, and so he's joining us. But you not having a system, folks. If you own a company, if you're listening, you own a company. If you don't have a system in place to support those transitions between, working at a site to managing people to leadership to executive, if you don't have a system that funnels them through adequately. Now, I'm not saying pushing them through, right? Because that's usually why we have so much uh, heartburn with
yeah.
leadership. It's the people are pushed through, pushed through. And he wants to date me. Byron, that's not right, brother.
You all
You
go back
go
20 years?
20 years. It has been 20
Oh,
years.
Byron.
Uh, but if you don't have a system this way that you are structuring your people, what you're going to cause is some frustration, and you're going to end up pushing people through because they don't want to go to the next level. It's they see too many inconsistencies in the way you are bringing and developing folks that don't want no part of it.
Yeah.
And when you don't have a system to support, and I'll give you an example. So you can make a decision as a leader. If you don't have no support, your decision was just voided out. And that is the worst position to be in as a leader personally, where you're saying, hey, you're paying me to make a decision. I make the decision, you void it out, and then you go on with somebody that doesn't even have anything to do with leadership. So it's funny to hear, not funny, but um, it is insightful to hear that this is one of those things that just people are crying about. No system, no support.
No support. And I mean, I guess we shouldn't be that surprised, Enrique, because so many people are thrown into the role of leadership without like, it's just kind of like you're over here doing a great job at whatever you're doing. And then 2 weeks later, you find out, oh, we're just going to promote you to be the leader of this team. And there's nothing. There's no training. There's no support. There's not a, hey, like, do you need anything from me? Nothing. It's just like sink or swim on your own. Figure it out. I thought of you the other day, Enrique, because I went to a what do you call it? A business networking event, and which I typically hate. But I went to this event and I was sitting there, and you know how they do the round table, like what is it that you do, and et cetera, et cetera. And so somebody asked me, oh, like, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a leadership coach and I train specifically first time managers as they jump into their role. And one of the business owners popped up and kind of smirked and was like, why do they need that? I learned from trial and error. His words exactly were, I learned from trial and error on people's lives. He learned trial and error. This is the problem, correct? Like,
Yeah, trial.
trial and error on people's
I,
lives.
and I don't know the man, but let me tell you that it's you wasn't the only one that learned. How about that? You were not the only one that learned by trial and error. So did they. And when leaders start to realize that their bumps and bruises, it's not just one sided,
Exactly.
it is double sided. You went through something and you think you're the only one that learned, but that person that you had to deal with, or let's just say they had to deal with you, uh, also got some bumps and bruises. Many of those bumps and bruises you can't recover from,
Yeah.
or it takes you a long time to recover from. And so, one of the things that leadership fails to understand is that your journey is not by yourself. As you are having these, uh, trial and errors, so are some other people. And typically, if you're a leader, it's a group of people
Mhm.
that are going through this with you. So, uh, I won't judge the man because I don't know where he came from or anything like that. But as a leader, I would tell someone in leadership position that just kind of saw it that way, shame on you. Shame on you for voiding out everybody that had to learn with you. And it's real. So as leaders, and thank you, Makita, for thinking of me.
Yeah, I did.
It's what we deal with.
It is. Yeah, I automatically thought of you when he said that. I was like, and I was really saddened by that. At first I got a little bit like angry, kind of like, what do you mean trial and error? But then I was saddened because then it just goes to show why we have so many issues in the workplace. Some people, first, like you said, right? Like you're voiding everybody. Like your trial and error is automatically multiplied because you're dealing with so many people. But also, like, you're affecting the business. It's the impact of you trying to just wing things is just astronomical. And to honestly think that that's okay, I don't know where someone would get that thought. It's just not okay. And it made me really sad. It made me really sad.
Well, it's also a testament of, you could tell the trajectory of a company by
Yeah.
what a leader speaks.
Yeah.
Um, that person may make money, but he'll never change lives
Never.
ever.
Mm-mm.
And for
Mm-mm.
those of you out there that are looking at
Uh-huh.
leadership, looking to get into leadership, leadership is a life altering position. If you don't understand that where you are, you can decimate a life.
Yeah.
I've been in leadership development for a while. I've been a leader for a long time, and a poor leader almost decimated me.
I didn't hear this story, Enrique.
Oh, well, I once told myself that I would just lay it down. But let me just recap.
Yeah, yeah.
Recap. You have to know who you hire. Okay, if you are out there looking for leaders, and you hire a true leader, don't get in their way.
Mhm.
You hire them for a reason, and so you have to know who you hiring. Don't just base it off a resume. You need to talk to these people, see what they've been at, what they can do, their capacity, all this stuff, so that you don't become a stumbling block for a true leader. So here goes. I was in a position. I was a leader. Um, it was required of me to have to basically. Uh, I had to check in, right? And so for a leader, a seasoned leader, to have to check in when they don't have to. They don't see the need to. You have to understand that ego is driving that boat.
Oh, yeah.
Ego is driving that boat. And so a seasoned leader, like myself, I brought it up. I mean, I call it what it is because I love truth. Truth
Right.
sets me free, right? It sets me free. It definitely gonna set you free.
Yeah, yeah.
So I brought truth. Although I bring truth with what I say love. I
Seasoned,
will
right?
always I will always provide you a bridge over. From wherever you are, I'm gonna tell you where you're at, but I'm always gonna provide you a bridge over because I don't believe in telling people facts without because that's what people call truth. They call it's all facts. Facts doesn't help me get nowhere. Truth does. Right? So truth brings in an element that provides someone a way over to the next step they need to succeed. So I make sure to provide that. It was not wanted. Boy, it was not it was not wanted. So there was a setting, a micromanagement setting that was taking place, and I could see it from a mile away. So I was trying to say, this is what's gonna happen. I could see it already. And so anyway, I was just too advanced for what they wanted that position to be.
Got it.
And sometimes, some people cry about, oh, I didn't get a job. They said, "De que, this is Puerto Rican in me. De que, I'm." overqualified. Sometimes, sometimes you are.
Sometimes you are. Yes. Yes.
Sometimes you are. So you got to understand you might just be right.
Yeah.
So in this case, it didn't go too well. I decided to pull chocks and get out of there because you have to understand for those of you hiring people, if especially the military community, a military community is used to being given orders, and that's it. You get the order. What you bring back is the execution.
Well,
That's
you
how
guys,
we operate.
yeah, because you guys
Yeah,
are trained to
yeah.
like,
Boom. You
yeah.
get an order. Okay, got it. And so that's kind of like the things that we kind of have problems with coming back out is and
Mhm.
integrating into the community is that if you told me you wanted this by 4, don't ask me how I got it. I'm gonna get it by 4. It's gonna be there.
Right.
And the way things are set up, and you want how okay. So how do you get to B, and then how do you we do it like this. So in any case, also for those that are in a military transition, understand that that might be the way you're going to have to engage with. You got to do A, B, C, or D. So start taking notes. uh and
I
we
Yeah, I can't with that. Micromanagers was a rude comment to work. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
um And so thank you, CM, and Ricky is with us. Thank
Hi,
you for being
Ricky.
with us. I appreciate you guys' support. But yeah, so it was anyway. Long story short, micromanagement 101. That was it.
I
And
I can't with micromanagement, Enrique. I also worked for a toxic company, and the leader at the very top was ridiculous. Like his micromanagement was over the top, and I think it was rooted in ego because everyone's micromanagement comes from some, different root causes, but it was definitely ego. Like he was always right, and so had to like nitpick at absolutely everything, and it does something to your mind, doesn't it?
whew, it's a prison. Let me just
It's a
say that,
prison.
right?
Yeah, I love how you said that.
For an effective leader, it's a prison.
Yeah.
And you stifle, you wipe out
Hmm.
any sign of fire in a person when
Hmm.
you micromanage them. Okay, so if that's the type of leadership style you have, just understand that people are suffering under you.
Yeah. Oh
They
yeah.
may show a smile because they don't want to lose their job, but they're suffering. And guess what? Not only them, they have to go home. And so, guess who has to deal with the Enrique that's not feeling so happy?
Yeah.
The family. And so for leaders, and I think me and you and I spoke about this before. This is a life
This,
thing,
yes. Thank you.
right? Leadership is a life thing. It is not your position. It's not how much you're getting paid. It's none of that. I don't care what suit you just bought out the rack. If you don't understand that leadership is a life thing, you're going to hurt some people,
Hmm.
and like I said earlier, you know, uh, some irreparable, some irreparable. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
was just going to ask you, have you run across any folk that have come and say, I'm just broke and it's because of my leader?
Oh yeah. Of course. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know what, Enrique? Sometimes I get emails from people because I have a YouTube channel where obviously I'm trying to help as many first time leaders as I possibly can, and I will get like people reaching out to me in the DM saying, "Hey, would you mind sending this video to my boss because they really need it?" And that tells me so much. Even the fact that they don't even feel comfortable or safe enough to talk to their boss about the fact that there's changes that need to happen, that tells me everything I need to know. Do you know what I mean? Like it just does. It tells me everything I need to know that they are literally asking me to send my videos to their boss so that their boss can become more effective at what they're doing. I mean,
And and the funny thing is that so we really need to send your videos to the executives so they can let that trickle down. Right? You can't push it up, but most times, folks, if you're out there, hey, and I would like to hear if you have been ever in a micromanagement situation, or if you've witnessed the type of leadership that just stifles, innovation, because that's another thing. We have companies that are betting on their team members to produce the best product that they can in their company. But if leadership is stifling their innovation, their creativity, and if you hired somebody for a position to do something, now it's different if they're not doing it. If they're not doing it, then I guess you be a true leader and help them find another
Better
place
place.
to be, whether it's another position in your company or a position somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like I made a post either today or yesterday, and it wasn't today because I did a OHA, but it was yesterday or the day before. It's exactly with that. Hey, your position as a leader is to get people where they need to be, even if it's not in your company. Don't be so selfish and hold on to them, folks. Help them,
Well, like you said,
lead
it's a
them.
life thing. It's a life thing. And that's why that's part of it, right? Taking full, complete ownership of how your actions affect other people's lives. This includes if they're not like performing or if they don't
Mm.
necessarily fit in that seat, where can I place them either within the company where they fit better, or can I help them find something that is better aligned with their strengths, and their passions and their goals that they have for themselves in life, right? Like, so it makes complete sense what you're saying because it is really a life thing.
Yeah, and I know that the subject may make people feel like we're, thrashing leadership. We're not.
No, no,
But
I think it's important.
but
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you this: there's a lot of people that swallow a bitter pill at work, and they just get by. Now I know that everybody's got to work, everybody's got to make some money, got bills, this and the other. But and I'm gonna ask you a question I had to answer, right? Because this is the position I found myself in when I was in that situation.
Mhm.
And this won't be the first time that I mentioned this. And I think Ricky knows because she's been with me for a bit, and she probably heard this before. I reached out the very last day I was at work. I reached out for the knob to go inside the door, and I could not turn it.
Wow. Wow.
Tell me if that's not you messed up my head.
Yes.
I could not
Yes.
turn it. And I asked myself, do you really want to do this today?
Yeah.
The good thing is that I asked myself. Hey, I was conscious enough to realize what was going on,
Right.
and I held that knob for a good 20 seconds and just frozen there. And I said, "Not today, devil." I opened that I opened that door and I went and got my stuff and I left. Uh,
Not today.
not not today, and not definitely not tomorrow. Well, folks, I'm not advising anybody to do what I did. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you got to love yourself enough to make some hard decisions that are in favor of you and not so much in favor of this company or the leadership that is not supporting you.
You, exactly.
Whatever that decision may be, that's you. I'm gonna take my hands off of there. What I'm saying is you have to love yourself enough to understand what is not for you and what is hurting you. And if you cannot decide for yourself, when you become a leader, you won't be able to help somebody that's trying to figure this thing out because maybe they're in the cubicle next to you under some poor leadership, and now you got to give them advice. Love yourself enough, folks, to decide for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what that was the whole thing was. Hey, I decided for me. Obviously, I sought counsel before I left. I called my lawyer. First, I was like this, and then I was like this with my wife. And she, you know what? It pays off to have somebody on your corner, especially your spouse. She said, "Baby, come home. We got you." Boy, I didn't
You were
hang
like,
that
okay,
phone. I,
coming.
I couldn't tell you how fast I hung that thing up, packed my stuff. I was out of there. HR was like, "What? What you mean? What you mean? You going and coming back?" Hey, look,
Gosh.
I wish I could play the whole video, but I don't got a video. It's all in here, and it's still funny to me today. And we laugh about it, but it was a very you know, I gave up a good salary, and this is what I mean. There's no salary, and I remember these words. It's kind of my last words to HR was, and we spoke after that, but one of my last words was, "You could pay me $120,000 and I won't be here tomorrow." Think about it. $120,000 will make a whole lot of people smile from ear to ear if they were getting a salary.
That's not
And
worth
I said,
it. Mm-mm.
I forfeit that.
Yeah.
I would not be here tomorrow. Why? Because the money would not change the leader. It wouldn't.
No, all it would do is amplify the actions of the leader. Because remember, we train people how to treat us. So when we stick around and stick around and stick around in a situation that we know is toxic for us, where a manager is just not getting it right, and we stick in that situation, we're basically saying it's okay to treat me like this. It's when we stand up for ourselves, and like you said, right, Enrique, when we love ourselves and we choose ourselves, that's when we'll see a change. But if we stick in a situation and we're really telling that person how to treat us, we really are. So
Yeah,
that's
and
great.
Ricky puts up, and I'm gonna put this up because it's real life. Is happening right now, currently under micromanager.
Mm.
It has stopped the entire division and team members from growing, and the division is not meeting the goals. The questions is being asked, why is the division failing, but no one will speak up.
Okay, so I have to tell you something, Ricky. This is probably the most annoying thing I get from managers all the time. Like, so when this hits my inbox, I like literally hit the roof where they're like, I don't understand why my team isn't performing. Why are they failing? And I'll be like, your team is a direct reflection of you. If your team is failing, it's because you're failing. This is the thing about leadership. Like, you really have to take full ownership of it. You can't just like having the title and having the paycheck. You have to take full ownership of everything that happens on the team. So the micromanager is the one that's causing the division to fail. Point blank. Point blank. Like, yeah, but it drives me insane. Do you hear this often, Enrique, where they're like, I don't know why this
Yeah,
is
I don't know,
happening.
but look, now I'm gonna throw some relationship tip here. It's not. It's it had nothing to do with relationship. We talk about leadership and getting it
Go ahead.
wrong.
Go ahead.
But let me tell you, let me tell you, there's a lot of relationships, right? And I'm not gonna pounce on the man. I'm just gonna say it happens more often with men. What happened? I thought we was good. I didn't know there was anything wrong. Oh, you know, you're unaware. That's what it is. Okay, you're unaware. And as a manager, you cannot be unaware. As a leader, you cannot be unaware. You have to be aware of what's going on around you. There is no excuse at a manager level or leadership level to say, I don't know what's going on. When you yelled at Sally because she got there 5 minutes late, but that was the end of the conversation. But you didn't know that Sally babysitter called her. She had to rearrange her whole morning. And oh, by the way, on the way in, that nail that was on the street went through her tire. And so now she's late to work. You didn't take no time to figure out what's wrong with Sally. Not what's wrong with Sally's work, what's wrong with Sally. And so if you don't know what's going on, that's why I love 360
Yeah.
feedback. I love the smack out of some 360 feedback if it's done right. And and I'll tell you, I'll do an intrusive dive when I go visit folks. If you call me, I'll just let you know right now. If you're calling me to go assess your workspace and your workplace, it's going to be some intrusive
He's diving in.
leadership. Look,
Diving right in.
the reason why is because there's a lot of, I don't know why my team is,
Yeah, a lot.
they just don't want to.
And they point the blame out here instead of going here, right? Like, I don't understand where that attitude comes from, Enrique. Where do you think that comes from, of like always pointing it outwards instead of like holding the mirror?
It is a defense mechanism because you can't lead.
Mm.
It's a defense mechanism. The reason, and it's a tall tale that you are just unaware.
Yeah.
And all I would do is ask, and hey, maybe somebody listening may want to use this. I get management in, I get leaders in. I said, tell me about your team. Oh, well, I got this guy in this position, I got that guy in that position. Okay, no, I asked you to tell me about your team.
Yeah.
Hardly anybody ever. It has happened, but hardly anybody ever can tell me about Sally. And a leader that can't tell me about Sally has already told me that he don't care enough about Sally. So if he don't care enough about Sally, he definitely don't care enough about Sally in the workspace, because your people are alive. They need a live leader. We don't run around the cemetery and say, "Hey, what's these people been up to?" No, we don't. We know what they've been up to. But it's a shame that you can go to a work site or a company and ask the same question, and they can't tell you.
Yeah.
So it's a defense mechanism to prevent their lack of leadership from coming to light. That's why, hey, I don't love the pandemic. There's nothing to love about the pandemic. There's a lot of good people died during this pandemic. Family members that have passed away because of the pandemic. But what the pandemic afforded companies, and if they don't take advantage of this is going to be a very bad thing. It afforded them to sift the chaff from the wheat in their leadership. Because if you could not realize in this Zoom environment that whoever Sally out there getting a lot of props, because I'm gonna use that name all night. If you ain't noticed that Sally was actually outperforming this leader in her production over Zoom and this, that, and virtual environment, then you need to maybe check yourself. If you are a top leader and you're not noticing who's shining during these times, and your poor leaders from before, they're still poor. They didn't get any better. So keep an eye on your folks and know your people.
Yeah, you got to know your people. I often tell my accelerator students this story. So part of our training is talking about, obviously how to engage in difficult conversation and engage in conflict or create conflict, because, you and I, we see things eye to eye. Conflict isn't a bad thing. But a key part of that is like in order to engage in that conflict and in those difficult conversations, it means that you first have to develop a relationship. You have to truly know your people. And so I often tell them this story about what I experienced when I was 16. It was one of my first jobs. And I worked in a retail store. And I was trained by a girl who was absolutely tremendous. Okay, Enrique, like tremendous girl. She was also a sales associate, and she taught me literally everything I knew on that floor. Super, like she was like top salesperson, and she trained me. So of course, I became pretty good too. Anyways, um, for weeks on weeks, she was killing it on the floor. And then all of a sudden, you started to see a change in her attitude. Like things were kind of off, like you could tell something was off with her, maybe like something personally was happening or something in her family, whatever the case might be. But you're 16, you're immature, you don't necessarily know how to like how to ask or engage in a conversation like that with her. And so of course, because of the changes in her attitude, mistakes were being made. And so I guess one day my manager decided she had had enough and pulled her into the back room. Let's call her Sally. Pulled her into the back room and literally yelled at Sally. Like I'm saying, like laid right into her, so much so that we could hear her and the customers could hear her at the front of this store. So this happens. And the next day, me and the rest of the girls, the rest of the associates, were calling Sally to be like, are you okay? What happened? Because she like ran out of the store after. And we didn't hear back. A week went by. We didn't hear anything. So we went to her house. Do you know what we found out? Her parents said that she took her life. She took her life. I'm not saying, so when I tell my accelerator students this, I never say that the manager was the cause of this, but I have to tell you with certainty that whatever that girl was going through, my manager should have known, and she should have picked up on that and like changed her approach, because I have to tell you that her approach did not help anything at all. We never know when we are the person to break the straw on that person's back. This is why your leadership matters. Okay.
Yeah, and as that story, uh, it touches me because I was a suicide prevention coordinator for a long time
So you go.
in the Navy. I served as a casualty assistance calls officer in the Navy, and I saw a lot of those. They're not pretty. They're not
Nope.
pretty. All right. And you know, I believe that there's a callous feeling, right? Almost of a searing of the heart when you bring up people to leadership positions before they're ready for them.
Yeah.
Your words can be the catalyst to endless success, or it could be a catalyst to death.
Yeah.
You
Like it
know,
was for, yeah. No, I'm telling you, it was, it, that her conversation with her and what she said to her did not make things better, Enrique. We all knew it. All of us, 16-year-olds, we're young. She's the older one as the manager, right? She should have known better. She should have seen that something was wrong with her. It wasn't like she came into the store always being like this. She was her top salesperson. Clearly something was going on. Instead of laying into her for the mistakes, ask her what's happening. She could have saved her life. Instead, she chose to be part of a really bad story in a bad way.
yeah, and
You know?
not all of them end this way.
Yeah.
Uh, that was something, and just talking about it. So listen to this. That manager, for whatever reasons, chose to use a an approach that ended up in it added it added to the already
Fragile state.
roughness,
Yeah.
yeah, of that life. So it ended up being a broke back. That's it. We're still talking about it today.
Yeah. Because that was
Your
like 20 years. Yeah. 20 years ago.
your decision is long lasting. Your words are long lasting, and they will, and your poor leadership will be talked about. I could tell you, I could tell you about great leaders in my life.
Me too.
I could tell you, you know, um, but not as vivid as the poor leaders in my life. Imagine that.
It just
How
stings.
some of the things still sting. This is what we're talking about: leadership and getting it wrong. Sometimes you get it wrong, uh, and we all have thresholds. And if you happen to be a leader that have gotten it wrong, I hope you realized that and you went ahead and turned around and went back to that person and made it right. It still doesn't remove your responsibility for what you let go, right? That stuff, even when there's a repair in a relationship there from leader to team member, there's still a footprint, right? There's a movie, um, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bruce Lee.
What a combo.
You couldn't mix match this one. If you brought Kareem is supposed to be like this kung fu artist at this time, right? Not with Bruce Lee. Who gets in the ring with Bruce Lee? But he did, and it's in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember nothing of the fight except I remember this footprint that was left. Bruce Lee kicked this dude so hard. He
Wow.
left his footprint on his clothes. And just to correlate this thing, that's what you do as a leader when you treat people as opponents instead of team members. When you treat them as subservient than a team member. Because in reality, this group is a team. You just happen to be the head team member.
Yes. Yes. I
That's
love
it.
that. I love that.
So you have a little level of responsibility for the whole, but you still got to represent your piece. And so what I think that in these situations is that a leader separates themselves as a leader and then expects the team
Yeah.
to fully represent when you're missing from the piece. It's a holistic thing. And so when you don't have a whole, you have a hole with a W, right? You you got you're something's missing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in leadership scenarios, what's missing is the leader. And that's why so many people end up with footprints on their shirt because you treated them in a way in a combatant manner, right? So, folks, we could continue to speak about, and I wish that others would chime in on situations that they found themselves that they're still thinking about. And I know you are. You
Yeah.
can't you can you can't pull that one on me. I know you're still thinking about when so and so did this at this job, because from there you went to another job and you took that with you. You know what I say when I left? I'll never come back to work. I'd rather stay home. Hey, my daughter's on here. Let me put her stuff. She said, "Preach."
Preach. This
She
does
said,
sound like
"Preach." That's my daughter. Hey, and she knows. After that, it's been a rough.
preach.
It's been a rough thing. It's been a rough thing to go back to work. Now I found this one place, and I did love them, and I still love them, uh, but it happened at the same time my mom passed away, and it was a rough road. So I had to go, but I still love them. I still love them. But It's this is what results from leaders getting it wrong. You'll spend, you'll be 20 years and still talking about it.
Still talking about it. I sometimes say to people, not that I like to scare people off of leadership. I don't like to do that, but I do like to open their eyes to the reality of the situation, that, like I said, it is more than just a title and a pay increase and all these things. It is real responsibility, and responsibility over other people's lives, not just your own. And so, you know, I always like to say, like, if you're being given an opportunity of leadership, I think it's best to actually think about it before you jump into it, because if you're taking it for the wrong reasons, then you will end up hurting people and yourself in the process. So make sure it's actually that you want to help people, that you enjoy developing people, that you actually like people. Because if you don't, then you'll be miserable, your team will be miserable, and it's just not worth it for anybody. So yeah, if there's anybody like on here that's like contemplating a leadership position, I think one of the first things you should ask yourself is like, why? Why do I want this position? And be honest. And if it is really true and truly only because of the title and the pay increase and like the status, that's okay. Better to know now than later. And better to ask your boss if there is something else that you can do where you can fulfill what you actually want, rather than being in a role where, again, like I said, you're going to be miserable and make other people miserable as well.
Well, honesty goes a long way. You can, and Makeda, you said it's all right, and it is.
Okay, yeah.
You I love that you would be so aware. That's you know, but at that point, seek out a mentor. Seek out a leader in your company that you can gain from. Don't just be happy that you're in the position and just go at it, because you will hurt some people. Um, you're gonna get somebody that is probably more qualified than you working in your group, and you're gonna you're gonna upset some people. Um, the choice to put you in leadership was not theirs, right? So, but if you know that you have a gap that you need to fill in a hurry, you need to surround yourself with mentors and leaders that can fill that, so that you can catch up quick. Because what you don't want to do is go at this alone and be just satisfied.
Yeah.
So if and there's a lot of people that just say, yeah, no, I just took it because I get pay increase, I get this, I get that, and the other. Okay, with it still comes the responsibility of a life. You cannot void yourself from that just because you're aware that that's why you wanted it.
Yeah.
You have to fill it with mentors and guidance. Now, my daughter went and wrote a book. I'm just gonna throw it out here, but but look at this. I mean, she'll throw this out there, and she has a lot of experience in retail, right? So I was given a leadership position and was treated with horrible micromanagement and refused to go back into that field. Fast forward 2 years, and I took a chance and re-entered the field. And I remember this like it was yesterday. And it took me a long time to acknowledge that the environment wasn't the same. I held my current position to the old standard, and it hurt
Mm.
me at first. I had a hard talk with myself and realized that the job from 2018 was holding me back. Since then, I've thrived, and good for you. Um, uh,
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
and Ricky says, if not within your company, then look outside your organization. Hey, sometimes you got to go. And for me, hey, I knew that nothing was going to change there. So the decision was I had to go. There was no way around it, you know. But it's a hard decision, right? We talked early about past experiences showing up in a new job, and it happens. So for those leaders that are partaking in this leadership, um, it goes past that place. It goes past that decade. She said 2018. It's been a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Uh, it goes with them. And so shame on you if you let your people carry on a load that they shouldn't
Yeah.
because of your poor leadership.
And just to piggyback off of what you said too, Enrique, about like seeking out mentors and seeking out help, I think that's so important. Is I don't know why, but a lot of leaders get into the position and they feel like they have to do it on their own. I'm not entirely sure where that comes from. I don't know if they feel like people at the executive level are doing it on their own, but I have to tell you they're not. A lot of executives have executive coaches that they're working with, or somebody that they're working with that they can rely on because this is difficult. So please don't think that because you're in a, in the position that you don't need help. You do. And trying to piecemeal help is just not acceptable. I mean, I always say this to my managers too. I always like throw it back at them and say, well, would you like accept that your team is piecemealing stuff to do? Like if you asked your team to, execute on this project or whatever the case might be, would you expect them to just piecemeal it, or would you expect them to get like real help? And they always say, no, I want them to get real help. I don't want them just to like stitch things together. And so then my question is always, okay, if you expect that of your team, then why don't you at least expect that of yourself? So again, like I said, just to piggyback of what Enrique said, get yourself the help, get yourself the support, get a mentor, get a coach, get somebody in your corner, and make sure that you're not just like really trying to wing things, because that's not going to help anything. If you wouldn't expect it of your team, then don't do it for yourself.
And mentorship, if true mentorship won't cost you nothing, right? There's
Yeah.
plenty of places that you can actually get business mentors, professional mentors, all that. I mentor through an entity called Veterati. I was on a call today, and it's an hour long, and you get to talk. So there are places that do facilitate you having mentors to guide you through. And if you can't find one at work, that's a shame in all in
Sometimes that's
itself.
the reality, though,
Yeah,
right?
and
Sometimes
and
that's
it's
the
true,
reality.
and some, but at least have one. It may not change your workplace, but it definitely will change your trajectory and
Yeah.
your way of looking at things to the point where you won't get as hurt as you would if you didn't have that. Now coaching, I would say you're going to pay for coaching. I don't know any coach that can coach it for free, but even that will be worth the money, depending on what you're looking for. So if it's funny. Most people will take this video and say, hey, I wish I could send it to somewhere, right? And hey, this will reside on YouTube. You could send an anonymous link and say you need to watch this. That's fine, if you could do that. But most people um, will be addressing this from how can I fend for myself,
Yeah.
right? How can I fend for myself? So, Makeda, please share. How could they reach out to you, talk about all these things, and get on the right side to protecting themselves? It's a shame that we would say protecting yourself, but that's really what you're doing. But setting yourself up to be able to handle these, uh, the lack of leadership.
Yeah, I know. It's so sad when you say it. It just makes me so sad all the time. But yeah, I have a ton of free content on the internet that you can actually find me on YouTube. So it's Makeda Andrews, super simple. And I have a lot, like I said, of free leadership advice on there for first time leaders. So if you've never been in a leadership position before and you're kind of like feeling stuck, not entirely sure what to do with the situation that you're in, then I really do try and provide you guys with as much actionable content as I possibly can. And of course, you can reach out to me anytime, because honestly, I'm on a mission here just to create better and more impactful leaders in the world, because I feel like leadership absolutely affects everything. So if there's ever anything, that I can do, please feel free to reach out to me either here on LinkedIn or, on my YouTube channel. Just leave me a comment and be like, hey, saw you on at you talking with Enrique, and, want to take you up on your offer.
All right. I just want to just remind everybody that although this may be a somber thing, we laughed a lot.
Yeah, we did.
There was a lot, because sometimes you just can't make it up, right? some scenarios you just can't make up. It's and it always starts. Yeah, there I was, right? But thank you. I appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Dude, thank you so much for sharing your story
um,
too. I didn't think it was a novel. I don't know why you're telling
yeah,
people so.
I'm sure I'm gonna pay for that here in a little
You
bit.
should.
But but um, but folks, it's not always um for our bad, right? Some things do teach us. It's a shame that it's trial and error, but some people live that way. You can still overcome that, right? Hey, Byron knows when we were on the ship together, we have some poor leadership, and
Really? What
he'll tell you,
surprises me
oh,
because of the fact that, the military prides itself on its leadership.
oh, well, we pride ourselves in getting the mission done.
Got it.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
Byron, if you want to go ahead and write a book, go ahead, brother. But I know we have some poor leadership, and sometimes the true leadership is below the ranks, is down
Got
here,
it.
and so find that effective person. He said, find
Enrique
that.
will Enrique can write the forward for you when you write the book, okay?
Yeah, he said, right. Um, but find those influential people that you can hang around, right? Find those people that are truly inspiring others to go a little farther.
Yeah,
Um, uh, he said,
we
he
did.
said, we did. I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you, brother, because I'm almost up here in time. So, but yeah, it's another story. Um, find yourself those that are truly impacting, are truly influencing folks. Get around those people, and there's a thank you here from Ricky. I'll let you see that because that's for you. Um, thank you, Ricky, for being with us again.
So
Uh,
much.
so don't think that it's over, right? Makita's available. I'm available. If you want to talk to anybody concerning anything that's going on, we can get you, a good way roadmap ahead. And just consider that it may require a harder decision that you didn't consider, right?
Right.
Because sometimes, like in my case, I had to go. There was no way around it. Let's just say. And you know what? The next day, whoo, I opened all kinds of doors and never froze. So that's what happened to me. I was happy. I was opening doors all day long, just opening doors.
Just
Um,
just so that you can
just look, that I didn't freeze on that one either. So just to make it light, but it wasn't funny what was happening. Um, but there is a way to still progress and still become a great person, a great leader, great producer, even in the midst of those situations. There is a way. So I just want to encourage you, although we were talking about some, getting it wrong, there's a way of getting it right. That's why we said getting it wrong. You can get it right. So thank you, Makita. Thank you for sharing this time with me. It's been fun. Folks, I hope that you enjoyed tonight's talk and the laughter. But there's a way ahead, and I encourage everybody to find that. Get yourself a mentor, get yourself a coach, get yourself some people that are surround you and support you. Everybody, mahalo for being with me tonight. Thank you, Makita. Any parting words before we go?
No, I echo what you said in terms of there is a way ahead. Like it's not the end.
That's
If
right.
once you have
That's
a support system, you're gonna fly.
all
Absolutely.
right. Well, folks, thank you for being with us tonight. Aloha Friday, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. And here it goes.